As Iran boasts that more than 1,000 missiles are still ready to fire, are heavy US C-17s now quietly stacking war gear in Qatar for a possible second round over Hormuz? With US tankers lined up at Israel's Ben Gurion airport, is Washington quietly prepping the refueling backbone it would need for long-range strikes deep into Iran? As passenger flights thin out and tanker tails multiply, is the US quietly loading the gun at Israel's main airport while still talking the language of diplomacy in public? All this unfolds as Vladimir Putin openly talks about messages from Iran's new supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei, signaling Moscow is plugged into Tehran's war calculus. With 3 US carrier strike groups already lurking near Hormuz, is the Gulf now bracing for an Iran War 2.0 that goes far beyond drone skirmishes and proxy blows? A surge of US airlift into Gulf bases is raising fresh fears that Trump's latest ultimatum could tip the region toward an Iran War 2.0 rather than a new ceasefire. Over the last 48 hours, open-source trackers show a stream of US transport jets pouring into bases in the UAE and Qatar, cycling in and out almost continuously. Heavy C-17 Globemasters and giant C-5 Galaxies have reportedly been touching down at Dhafra and Udaid, the 2 main hubs for US air power along the southern Gulf. Flight tracking data suggests these wide-body airlifters have been cycling in roughly every 2 hours through the night, hinting at a sustained logistics push rather than a one-off rotation. Observers say Udaid in Qatar now appears to be running at near-peak capacity for the first time in years, with ramp space crowded by tankers, transports and recon jets. Dhafra in the UAE is also seeing intensified activity, as US units reportedly stack equipment, spare parts and munitions in anticipation of a possible extended campaign. All of this buildup sits just across from the Strait of Hormuz, positioning US assets a short hop away from any future flashpoint with Iran's missile forces and naval swarms. During his talks with Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Monday, Russian President Vladimir Putin mentioned a message from Tehran's supreme leader Mojtaba Khamenei, Russian state media RT reported. On April 27, online reports and spotter footage claimed dozens of US refueling aircraft were visible on the ground in Israel, adding to the sense of a regional buildup. Circulating footage shows KC-135s and KC-46 lined up wingtip to wingtip across the tarmac, turning parts of Ben Gurion into what looks like a forward tanker farm. The flood of KC-46 and KC-135 tankers into the region strongly hints at planning for extended long-range air operations, not just quick punitive strikes. This airborne refueling wall comes on top of earlier deployments of 3 US carrier strike groups, suggesting layered options from sea and air if Trump chooses to escalate. Israeli intelligence currently assesses that Iran still has more than 1,000 missiles capable of reaching Israeli territory, despite weeks of bombardment and preemptive strikes. An Israeli Air Force officer, quoted on Channel 12, gave that tally as part of a briefing on Iran's remaining ballistic missile inventory after the first round of war. Separately, Israel's army radio has reported estimates of between 8,000 and 10,000 rockets still in Hezbollah's hands, underscoring the scale of the northern threat. Reports suggest many of the incoming aircraft are carrying rapid response troops and advanced warfare systems, not just routine supplies. Electronic warfare gear and specialized units are said to be part of the cargo mix, signaling preparation for a complex fight across air, sea, and the electromagnetic spectrum. Officially, US spokespeople describe the movements as routine, but the sheer scale and tempo look much more like a major mobilization than business as usual. All of this is unfolding as President Donald Trump issues a new 3-day ultimatum to Iran, warning in interviews that he could take out Iran's oil sector in a single night if Hormuz stays shut. Trump told Fox News that Iran now has 3 days before its oil pipelines explode from within. He also claimed there would be permanent damage to Iran's oil wells if oil flow is not restored. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "What happens is that line explodes from within, both mechanically and in the earth. Something happens where it just explodes, and they say they only have about 3 days left before that happens. And when it explodes, you can never rebuild it the way it is. It's a very powerful thing that takes place, sort of having to do with nature." Unquote. According to Trump, The ongoing US blockade would create catastrophic mechanical stress inside Iran's oil infrastructure. He further claimed that this pressure could trigger spontaneous explosions underground and within transport lines. However, energy experts say pipelines are typically equipped with safety valves and sensors designed to halt pumping before such failure spiral. They also note that if oil cannot move through the system, operators usually stop production at the source itself. That is why some experts believe Iran may still have roughly 2 to 3 months of inland storage before any forced production cut becomes necessary. Iran's vice president and head of the Strategic Energy Policy and Management Organization, Ismail Sagab Esfahani, has also reacted. Esfahani warned that Iran would retaliate against countries backing any damage to its oil sector. In a sharp response on X, he said, "Our math is different. 1 oil well equals 4 oil wells." Ismail Sagab Esfahani said, and I quote, "If any part of our infrastructure, including oil wells, is damaged as a result of a blockade, we guarantee that 4 times the damage will be inflicted on the same infrastructure in countries that support the aggressor. Our math is different. 1 oil well equals 4 oil wells." Unquote.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that we will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HD videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.